Hey, Whitehead SEO Group. How are you doing, guys? I have an honorable guest today. Great experience for all of us, I'm sure. I have Bill Slawski next to me online for this exclusive, one-of-a-kind, first of its kind live AMA session within the group. So I want to start with thanking Bill for his presence here. We are all very excited about the things that we're going to discuss. So the format, I think, should be around an hour long. Again, we are testing things. I'm testing things with this format, so hopefully it goes well. We have some questions pre-selected. Some of them are mine. Some of them are one of the most common questions within the industry, and some are coming from you in the form of comments, which if I have enough time, I'm going to ask Bill to share his take on them. So hello, Bill. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited right now. It's probably showing on my face. Yeah. So before we start, I think most of the people within the group should be aware of your role within the SEO industry. You've been here for more than a couple of decades. I think even before Google actually existed. So you've seen it all pretty much. Coming and going
I'm sure I
strategy.
missed some things.
Yeah, yeah, probably, but much more than all of us together, probably even. So why don't you start with saying something about yourself, who you are, what have you been up to recently?
Okay, I'm the director of SEO research for a company called Go Fish Digital, which is located uh, just outside the Beltway around Washington, D.C. in Virginia. I used to live in Virginia until 3 years ago when I moved out here to Carlsbad, California. I'm enjoying the move. Uh, I love the weather. Uh,
Yeah.
I like that there are lots of meetups and groups of people whom I can talk to and listen to. And I've been to the last one I went to was a local guide meetup.
Mhm.
So there are lots of people talking about search and SEO, and uh, enjoy that online too. Enjoy being in the white hat SEO group at Facebook.
Yeah.
Uh, I I blog at SEO by the Sea, where I tend to write a lot about patents,
Hmm.
search related patents from Google, mostly from Google, but I've been looking at some other ones. Uh, right now, I'm writing a blog post about deep links from
Hmm.
Microsoft because I've seen site links. I've written couple posts about site links from Google, one in 2006, one in 2015. And I've noticed that Bing is doing site links now too. In some cases, they're a lot better than the ones at Google. In some cases, they're a lot worse. So I
Yeah.
wanted to get an idea of how they came up with the site links they came up with. So I went to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, did a search for Microsoft patents dealing with site links. Didn't get any.
Wow.
So so I did a search on Google for Microsoft and site links, and I found out that they're not called that by
Hmm.
Microsoft. They're called deep links.
Yeah,
So
but they're probably basically the same thing as
I
site
went
links.
back to the patent office and I did a search for Microsoft and deep links, and I found a couple patents about them.
Hmm.
They look very similar. The idea with the Microsoft ones is uh, they follow user behavior information to try to identify landing pages on websites, pages that people tend to land on and spend time at. And
Yeah.
those tend to be the ones that they include as deep links.
Hmm. So are there any pieces of advice if you have acquainted yourself enough with the subject that can help us get more site links? Because more site links in Google results means more visibility, right? Because we're occupying a larger piece of the page.
Right. If somebody searches for your business name, you might get site links from Google. So you get an extra 4 or 6 or 8 in some cases links that might be to important pages on your site that people tend to want to visit, like your contact page or a page about the services that you offer, which are good pages to have showing in search results.
So basically, you were saying that it's kind of a user experience kind of thing, meaning that it shows the interest of the user while browsing through your website, and probably search engines are suggesting this in the form of site links.
The first patent from Google that came out about site links said that they're going to pay attention to user activity around your website to try to identify which pages they should include as site links. And the second one they came out with said they're going to look at the navigation on your site and try to identify which links in your navigation tend to stand out the most. And those will be the things that they use as site links. I think maybe they went around that backwards. They should have stayed with the way they were doing it before, with identifying which were the pages most likely people would want to visit on your site.
So
if you're WordPress, for instance, your site links might include like a download link for people to download WordPress software.
Yeah.
It might include a support link for people to get support information about WordPress, or a contact page. Those would be 3 ideal landing pages or site links for WordPress. So if you think about your own website, which pages would you want people to link to? And those would ideally be the ones that Google would link to in your site links, which if you want to maybe get Google to start linking to them in your site links, try to look at your navigation and find a way to make those pages that you like the most stand out somehow.
Yeah. So one final question before we move to the next ones, because we have quite a few. So do you think that building more links to particular pages will increase the odds of them being included as site links? Do you think that links play some role here?
I think having links in your navigation for those pages help. If you use pictures of the words that you're linking to, make sure you use alt text in those pictures, because otherwise you may not get any site links.
Yeah. All right. That's great piece of advice. All right. So to the next question, which is obviously very intriguing to me. So how did you start with Google Patents? Why did you become interested in them in the first place? How did this whole story begin?
Okay, so as an SEO, I'm supposed to be able to look at a website and try to figure out what it's about, who its audience is, what they offer to people. So I thought about that with Google. I said, how do I get that information? Well, I could look at stuff that they publish that tells us what they do. There's some stuff that they publish, like patents, which isn't intended for SEOs or marketers. It's intended to help them protect their intellectual property.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to describe their intellectual property within those. So I started looking at some and noticed that if they have any assumptions about the web, about search, about searchers, they're often very open to discussing those there. And sometimes the language is really technical and sometimes it's filled with legalese.
Yeah.
But if I copy it and paste it into Notepad and start deleting the stuff that just really doesn't help I'm left over with a lot of useful information.
Yeah. So before we move to the next question, which has to do with patents again, how much can we trust whatever information is included in those documents, the patents? Is it coming from first hand? Is it to be trusted fully?
Patents aren't a guarantee that Google's doing something. They're not a roadmap of how they exactly do it. So sometimes they're a little bit difficult to read. There's a phrase that shows up in a lot of patents that says patents are written for people learned in the art.
Mm-hmm.
So they can be technical. They can
Yeah.
be. So one of the most recent ones I read and wrote about involved artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough. It was difficult. But one of the things I liked about it was they had lots of links, or no links. They have lots of citations to papers that people had written, including people who had written the patent. So I said, okay, if I search for these on Google, find links to them, I can learn a lot.
Yeah.
So I found links to some and started reading them and said, okay, I'm going to include links to these in my blog post so that other people can learn from them.
Yeah. So actually, that's one of the things which is very specific for SEO by the Sea in terms of the content you guys publish. Basically, you're digesting a lot of hard to understand information regarding patents, and you're trying to put it in front of the audience in a more understandable, easy to get language, right?
I taught a class on internet literacy for a bunch of school teachers. And I found I learn best by trying to teach other people. If I can put the concepts in a easy to digest form, I learn it better.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do that through my website.
So it's helping. It's basically a win-win process. So you give them easy to understand knowledge, and you are bettering your own in the meantime.
Right.
Yeah. So can we just say a couple of words about what a Google patent actually is? Really short, because a lot of our members are really starting with SEO, and they know some basic stuff like content matters a lot. Backlinks matter a lot. Keyword research is a vital part of your SEO success, but patents are a bit, I don't know, like coming from another universe, like mathematician type of stuff. Like people find it fancy to mention patterns, but they don't really, at least that's how I perceive things. They don't really get it, what it means. It's just making them look better.
Okay, a patent is a form of legal protection, like copyrights or trademarks. It differs from those in that if you come up with a patent, you're publishing it in exchange for the right to exclude other people from using the process that you've patented. So if you come up with a way to build a new type of social network and you describe it in a patent, Facebook can't read your patent and say, that's a good idea. I'm going to come up with a new type of social network the same way.
And what importance does it have for the SEO world? Because, for example, when I was browsing for some information while I was preparing myself for this interview, I started with Google Patents, but then I started tweaking the query to Google Patents and SEO because I was getting tons of really sophisticated information, and I figured that probably I should add another, keyword that puts Google towards, SEO in particular, because otherwise I was getting all kinds of super hard to understand things, to be honest. Yeah.
Some of it is hard to understand. Some of it, what I was telling you before about deep links, I said Google calls them site links. Microsoft calls them deep links. So you have to recognize or realize that the words that they use might differ based upon the company that writes the patent. And I recognize the names of lots of search engineers from Google now because of patents. I know what types of things they write about. I know that there's a guy named Tristan Upstill from Google who's a search quality engineer, like Navneet Panda. And for both of those guys, they'll write about how to make a website high quality. So I'm right, and Jeffrey Dean, who's the head of the Google Brain team, also writes about website architecture and links and how things are put together. So I recognize the names now. I recognize some of what some of the phrases they use stand for that maybe comes to you after some experience. If a Google patent uses the word content, they're not talking about content like in content marketing. They're talking about advertisements. It's unique to Google patents. They don't talk on the Google support pages or help pages. They don't refer to advertisements there as content, but in patents they do.
I see. So naturally, the next question are, what are the latest, most interesting patterns that you've been working on, that you've been reading? You mentioned something about RankBrain a while ago, maybe some other stuff. RankBrain is really huge step towards understanding, the meaning behind words and to serving those ambiguous queries that Google wasn't very good at previously.
Okay, there's one that I like a lot that's somewhat related to the this RankBrain one, but a little bit different. And they refer to something called context vectors when they're talking about keywords. Okay, so one of the examples they give is a horse to an equestrian is an animal. A horse to a carpenter is a tool.
Exactly.
Horse. A horse to a gymnast is a piece of exercise equipment. Like a vault. So they'll look in a knowledge base like Wikipedia, find these words that have similar meanings, and assign them a different context. See how many times they're mentioned in those knowledge bases, and they'll use those contexts to get a better idea of what's being referred to on a web page when someone talks about it. So if you have a page about horses and they mention the word thoroughbred or saddle or stirrups, they're talking about an animal. If they mention the word horse and they're talking about saws and house building and wood and so on, they're talking about carpenters. So the context makes a big difference in terms of what words are being talked about and how they might index the meanings of different words that have different meanings.
So that's how Google learns. Actually, it might probably pull information from some huge sources like Wikipedia, maybe integrate them in their own algorithm altogether with their own RankBrain system, because Google needs more information to study people's language, right? To understand what they actually mean, whether it's horse like the animal horse, the tool, the gymnastic
right.
equipment.
So if I'm writing a page about horses, and it's the animals, I might go to Wikipedia and look up horses in Wikipedia and see which words might be the words that mean horse to me within that context, and maybe include those words on my page about horses.
So are we referring to something like, probably it's very simplistically said, probably it's much more than that, but something like LSI keywords, do they play some role? And TF-IDF analysis?
Okay, LSI keywords is, there's a website that you can search for LSI keywords. They don't tell you what the technology behind their keywords are, what the technology behind their site is. LSI, latent semantic indexing, was a concept developed by Microsoft in 1990. One of the researchers was Susan Dumas, and she came up with this system where you could index a very static set of documents, like not web pages. The web changes too quickly. If you were to apply LSI to the web, you'd have to keep on restarting it because it changes so often. People rewrite content, people add new links. LSI is not a good way to talk about the web. Even though there may be a website called LSI Keywords, which doesn't necessarily do a bad job. There are lots of ways to come up with synonyms. Like a railroad car is not a synonym for a Jaguar or a Mazda.
Yeah.
You know, it's a synonym for a boxcar or a trolley.
Yeah.
But there are different things. There are a lot of patents from Google that deal with synonyms that have nothing to do with LSI.
Yeah.
And RankBrain has nothing to do with LSI. There are lots of SEO gurus or experts, and I use those terms loosely because they're not necessarily, who say use LSI keywords. And they don't know what LSI actually is. They don't recognize that it has nothing to do with the synonyms that Google is showing people. No, LSI does not play a role in search. There's a process that Google came up with called probabilistic latent semantic indexing, which is related to LSI. They use it in paid search to identify words that might be related to keywords that people search for. But they don't use it in things like RankBrain or Hummingbird.
I see. All right, so we're talking about keywords. So while we're on the topic, many people, experts or just regular webmasters who are just starting with SEO, they have heard the statement that keyword research is one of the pillars for SEO, for successful SEO campaigns and SEO overall success. So if we're talking about keyword research, so what's important to know for people who are just starting or have started a while ago, but they haven't really gone into the nitty-gritty of keyword research? So some really easy to follow tips how they can start choosing their keywords for their websites.
One of the best ways to start doing keyword research is listening, social listening sometimes, but finding who your audience is, who the people you want to sell things to, services or goods or whatever, and finding out where they congregate on the web and listening to them talk about what you offer, seeing which words they use, because those are the words they might search with and expect to see in your pages. So, you can go to a keyword planning tool, a keyword suggestion tool from Google, and get some idea of what search volumes are associated with different words from that, which might give you an idea of what you want to use as a keyword on your page. But listen to your audience and how they talk about what you offer. Because I've worked with clients who wanted to use certain vanity terms, and there were things that people would never search for, and had to talk them out of it. Yeah, I said, "Do you want to actually sell any of these?"
Yeah. But
So
isn't
we've got to find the words that people will use to look for what you have.
And in that regard, how much is Google helping us today? Because it really started understanding human language in a much better way. So if you're using not the accurate phrases, but Google is sophisticated enough, clever enough today, will this be of help, or you should really do your homework well with keyword research so that you don't end up being nowhere?
Doing your research well, understanding your audience well, listening to them, can really make a difference in how you set up your website. If you organize your website by what's known as information architecture and separate it into sections that are important, that people will search for, that they'll expect to see in your site, that's going to help you. If you, I mentioned when I was talking about the contexts and horses, if you're writing a page about horses, go to the Wikipedia page on horses and see how they talk about horses and use some of those words. There are other knowledge bases other than Wikipedia on the web. There's they look at Yahoo Finance to find out about companies. They look about the Internet Movie Database. You can perform a search for one of the keywords you selected and see what the top 20 or 30 pages in Google are. So if you do a search for horses in Google and look at the top 20 or 30 pages and see what phrases they use, what categories they write about, and think about using some of those. That'll help Google understand better that your page is about horses or other topics that you might write about.
Yeah, I see. That's a great piece of advice. I just recently browsed for something a few hours back, Hero, which comes from Help a Reporter Out. That's a website that connects journalists and writers. So basically, when I ran from my location, I'm in Bulgaria right now. When I ran Hero, the abbreviation, not the full name, I got mixtured results. So on the top was helpreporterout.com. And then I'm actually looking at this right now. Some website, herobikes.com, which has to do with BMX bikes or other kinds of models, kids bikes, race bikes. And then on the bottom, we have another result from the US, some kind of index for the US market within Hero. And then again, a result from this website with bikes. So basically, we have a huge cluster, one after another, from the second to the 8th result or something like this for Hero bikes. Then again, Hero, some subpage of Help Reporter Out, and then again bikes. So while we're on the topic of keyword research, if somebody wants to try and penetrate such mixed niche, which Google is not completely sure which is the best type of content to rank on the top, any actionable, easy to follow, not something very sophisticated, ways that you can increase your odds of being ranked on the higher spots?
What you ran into is known as clustering.
Yeah.
Google might cluster concepts based upon different meanings of words. So if you search for Java, you've got a type of drink, you've got an island in Indonesia, I believe, and you've got a programming language. Most of the results for Java will be involving the programming language. But you're going to see results from the drink and from the island too. They're going to be mixed together probably in some percentage like they exist on the web. If 10% of the results involving Java involve the island, and 20% involve the drink and 70% involve programming language. You search for Java, in the first 10 results, you might see 7 involving programming, 2 involving the drink, 1 involving the island.
So that's based on Google's understanding what people are most probably searching for when typing this particular phrase.
No, that's based upon what they see on the web, what they index, what they recognize the different meanings might be.
Yeah. All right. So this takes us to the next question, which is content related. So when you are planning on a new piece of content, or you're just starting with your blog, I'm constantly asking questions about newbies, but I think that they will be most beneficial for the biggest chunk of our audience. So how do you plan the very first piece of content? How do you strategize? Some easy tips for the broader audience, if we can generalize something like this, like content planning, content writing.
I mentioned before social listening. And I think social listening plays an important role here. There are some websites that can help you find questions that people commonly ask.
Like Quora, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
And those would be good places to go and say, find questions related to topics you're interested in, and say, can I write a better answer to this question? Don't just take somebody's answer and try to improve it, because there are things like copyright.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people write about skyscraper techniques where they say find content you can improve upon, and they're just stealing the content they found and adding to it. Make it better.
Yeah.
Make people say, this is the authority site on this topic. I'm glad I came here. I'm going to come back. I'm going to search for it tomorrow.
Yeah. That's funny, because I graduated in late 2015, a course from Brian Dean from SEO That Works, who is not considered the creator of this thing, skyscraper technique, but people know him under this thing. So if we're to penetrate a keyword, so you were saying that there are some things regarding copyrights which have to be taken into consideration, but how do we, what does better content without stealing anybody's thoughts actually mean to the end writer, behind the PC screen?
Put this in that context. In the case study he did for skyscraper technique, he has screen prints from Vaughn's summary of Google ranking factors. And he wrote a article on 200 ranking factors from Google, where he stole 60, 70, 80 of Vaughn's ranking factors he has listed. And he claims to have improved those because Vaughn just listed them. He wrote stuff like, Matt Cutts wrote about this, but said people were lying. So Google is probably using it as a ranking factor. That's not critical thinking. That's not really a reason to believe that Google's using it as a ranking factor because Matt Cutts said something about it. You can do better. And, it sort of disturbs me to see people saying, yeah, great advice. No, it's not great advice.
So to which extent is it fine to quote your sources, for example, in the form of a link, in the form of some kind of a citation mention, so that you can use their knowledge? Is it enough, or does it take something more so that you can base your own content on somebody else's findings?
Giving people credit, attributing something they've said to them, is fine.
Mhm.
Adding something of your own, some opinion of your own, is an improvement upon that.
Mhm.
Say, I've seen this happen as this person's suggesting, but I've seen other things happen too, like this and this and this. So if you're
Mhm.
going to do something like described here, make sure you uh, use photographs that actually show what they mean uh, when they're writing a page about a certain topic.
Mhm.
I had a limo driver client, and he was talking about kids taking limo to the prom, and
Mhm.
he showed a young guy and young girl. The girl had a corsage, and the guy was dressed up in a suit, and the girl was in the gown, and you could tell they were high school students. I said, "Okay, it's a good picture, but show them same couple getting into a limo.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, actually have something that you can write in a alt text. Uh, High schoolers going to the prom in a limo."
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, all right. That's great. That's definitely deep insight on the topic. I know I've learned something new right now.
Yeah.
So the next subject would be links. Definitely. So I've come across an article. It was a while ago saying that there were. I think it was on Search Engine Land that there are three main ranking factors, which is content, links, and rank brain nowadays. It's a bit back in the day. It's not something that I've read a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, it's pretty much like this even today. I think to a big extent. So links. That's the thing to me because I'm offering SEO services. I'm doing link building for my own blog, and I've encountered a lot of people within our community and outside it that are struggling with this part of the SEO process because actually, to be honest, that's the only one which is outside your own control. So it's one thing to just publish great content or to polish your content or to improve your internal structure or speed or to put HTTPS. That's under your control. But when it comes to making other people vouch for you, vote for you, that's another story. And it seems that one of the reasons that paid links are still a thing is just because people are struggling that much that they prefer to I don't know, to use some more straightforward approach. You pay for it, you get it, you move on to the next target. So how are to how important are links to the overall SEO campaign for a website? How important they are today? Will they be a factor in the upcoming months and years, according to you?
It does seem that links still matter to Google, that pages are ranked based on how many links are pointing to those pages.
Mhm.
So, the way I've found to build links to my site, my
Mhm.
pages, and help clients out with those is to find out what information they might have that people might find to be interesting.
Mhm.
Uh, One client who deals with used cars across the country, and
Yeah.
they've got big databases of what the most popular cars are that people are buying. Uh,
Mhm.
so they took that. We made a map of the U.S. that showed what the biggest selling cars were in each state in the United States. Uh,
Mhm.
it tended to be the Ford F-150
Mhm.
truck in most states, but we wrote a page, showed that map, got linked to from Boing Boing, from Ars Technica,
Mhm.
uh, were mentioned on a radio station in LA.
That's
It
good.
got a lot of people talking about it, a lot of people linking to it because it was unique information from them
Mhm.
that people weren't aware of, didn't know about. I spent a lot of time at the U.S. Patent Office there's a database that most people don't know about in there that talks about when new patents are assigned from one company to another. So I was looking through that, and I noticed one day that IBM sold 1,000 patents to Google. So I looked through them. I found there are about 15 or 20 of those related just to search. So I identified which ones, and I wrote. I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, I guess
like,
so.
Third time or fourth time they called me today.
All right.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
It's fine. Such things happen.
Okay,
Don't worry about
so I saw these patents. I wrote a blog post. I listed the 15 or 20 patents that were about search, and I said, IBM this doesn't happen often. IBM sold 1,000 or so patents to Google. Here were the ones that were most interesting to me. About 3 or 4 hours later, I noticed I was getting a surge of traffic to my website. And I saw that it was coming from the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal.
Oh.
So Bloomberg News and some of these really high-profile sites, which were good things to get links from.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. I think that what our members and generally speaking, people around the world who are trying to build links for their websites is, for example, if they're selling products directly, if we're talking about some kind of e-commerce or affiliate marketing kind of website, I mean, they have already embraced the idea that they have to produce something which is of quality, which answers people's needs, questions. We are getting there. We are probably even there yet, but with the final part of making this piece of content, which is obviously useful to a huge audience, it involves maybe some kind of outreach or social media promotion. But I know, because I just started with next to my own blog internationally February last year. And at first it was really hard for me because I was nobody outside my small country, Bulgaria. I had zero contacts. And at first I had some initial boost from Brian Dean's course, of course, some ideas which I directly embraced. But it's really hard when you are, for example, in the SEO field, at least to me at that time, to get some initial links coming. Because people are, from my hand, we are a great community. I mean, we are living and dying by links, by content, by promotion, but at the same time, we are very friendly to each other. If you have been doing something for the industry for at least a while, but at first, to me, it was mostly cold outreach. And I know it from firsthand that a lot of people are so sick of it within the SEO industry, and that's totally normal because their inboxes are constantly filled up with junk and spam. Here's a nice content. You wrote the same content. So how about you link to this because it makes your content better? This is a dying concept, I think, at least within the SEO industry. It's so overdone. And it's as everything which has worked well to some extent, and then people started doing it across the or those people with affiliate sites, e-commerce sites, or brand new websites within an industry, even though they try their best to create a unique, useful piece of content, and they outreach in a non-pushy way. Let's say they did their homework well, but they meet all kinds of rejections, such as, yeah, thanks, but we charge for links, or thanks, but we are direct competitors, so this is just not going to happen. or what am I getting out of this? Okay, I'm going to give you a link. What can you give me? And then I can give you a link as well. Yeah, but you are a brand new domain. You can't pass me any authority. So if you are meeting with such kind of, reactions, which is common for brand new domains, to me, I mean, that's what I think. At least I've been there. It's really tough to. I call it an exchange currency or exchange coin or some kind of commodity. So that you can become something which other people will also be interested in getting something back in return. So that's I think is one of the biggest problems for my own community, the white hat SEO, because the very reason why people are still black hat. I don't know that these concepts are just fake words. There is no such thing as white and black, but the white ones are trying to follow the guidelines, the black ones are trying to find some shortcuts. But to people who are really trying to go towards the right direction, but they meet this type of rejection, this type of answers, what can we suggest to them? Or any recommendations so that they can start getting those links the natural way?
I've got a few. Yeah. Okay, so one of the most successful links I built for a client was on a Polish classified website.
All right.
Okay, this client was trying to help people incorporate businesses in Delaware. And I decided to post an ad in this classified website because it seemed like a good opportunity to maybe reach some people who might become customers of his. I thought it might bring some traffic, and it did. It brought him a couple of legal firms in Estonia and Latvia who became regular customers who would incorporate new businesses all the time. They were incorporating cargo ships that were bringing cargo to South America, and each ship they would incorporate new. So they were incorporating like 7, 8, 10 ships a week, which is
that's quite a few.
It's nice when you can get some new clients like that. So try to get links from places where you'll get traffic from. Okay, there was a article I read. It stated like 2002, so it's kind of old, but it's still on the web. It's called 10 Tips for Writing the Living Web. And it said things like, make good frenemies. Make people who you can argue with online, who people might find the arguments and discussions worth following. So you blog something. So a friend of mine who writes about local search wrote a blog post. I wrote a blog post in response to his blog post and disagreed with half of what he wrote. He wrote a blog post in response to that and disagreed with half of my disagreements.
Yeah, that's a good example, actually. Yeah. All right. So you have to be creative. If some of the most often used SEO, strategies, tactics are not very applicable in your niche, there are other ways like to be in front of your customers, like the ones you suggested just now. All right. So we have a few questions from the group. I'm going to try and find some time for each of them. So the first one. A guy from the group is asking the following. So if we have, I made it shorter, but I think that's the essence of it. If we have hundreds of articles with lots of tags and categories, is it okay to let them be indexed, or because we know plugins like Yoast, for example, if we're running on WordPress, and we know that some websites are recommending for you to get rid of any types of pages which are practically not adding to the content you have, because those are ways to group your content, but it's not unique content. But some websites, for one reason or another, sometimes it's really close to your mind why this is happening. In others, you can't really fully understand why, for example, such pages are bringing you a lot of traffic, and you know that you, by the book, if you follow the book, you should they index them or block them from indexing with robust TXT rules, etc. But you just prefer to keep them because they still work for you for some reason.
I did work for an SEO agency that had a blog that had categories that were embarrassing, like #1 search firm. That's the category. There were 400 or so categories on that blog.
Wow.
And I told them, if you want me to keep on blogging, you've got to get rid of some of those, because I'm embarrassed to work for you. I'm embarrassed to put my name on blog posts. So they got rid of some. Okay, so Matt Cutts, and people do bring his name up still because he did lots of stuff. He had a blog post he wrote where he said, if you have keyword cloud pages and you stuff them full of keywords, Google will consider it keyword stuffing.
And I'm assuming they will be indexable. They won't
potentially penalize you for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to think, if you're going to use tags, if you're not going to no index them, and you're going to have a keyword cloud, is Google thinking that you're keyword stuffing? They might.
Yeah. I think that his question was regarding the case where these pages are producing well for you, meaning they were generating clicks, impressions, maybe they are selling some of their products through those pages. And I think that while he was asking the question, he was aware that it's better not to have them indexed, but his dilemma was coming from the fact that they're doing fine with having them. At this exact moment, of course, we can't tell in future, but that's the dilemma here, I think.
If he recognizes that there's a potential risk.
Mostly blog pages, he said, Gabor Imre.
And blog pages can get penalized too.
Yeah. So the rules apply across the board.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Great. Great answer. So the next question is coming from Garrett Dane, actually, one of the other admins within the group. He's specializing in e-commerce SEO and lots of other things, but this question is related to e-commerce. So what are some of the most important points to consider when doing SEO for e-commerce websites? Some tactics that are specifically tailored towards these types of websites, some general rules that always apply when we talk about sites that are selling products online.
Okay, let me give you one that's completely out of the box that he probably hasn't heard, or chances are he hasn't heard from anyone else. The company that makes barcodes for products in stores is GS1. They're in central New Jersey. They're the ones who make those barcodes that get scanned by machines as you're paying. They make product codes called GTINs. They have a GS1 search, which he should search for, because it's a template you can fill out about your products. It'll help you generate structured data for your product pages. That includes lots of they extended schema. They're one of the first companies to come up with an extension for schema, and they've got a lot more information, a lot more detailed information about products. Like is it packed with items that might cause allergies? It's unique stuff. It's the direction that SEO is heading in, where they include that much extra information. People hadn't been doing that before. GS1 has 40 years of experience with barcodes.
I don't know if that's the one. GS1.
That's their website. They're very big. They work with lots of companies.
Yeah.
You can see G10s on lots of sites like eBay and Amazon.
Yeah, one of the biggest players.
Yeah.
So basically they created something which will benefit the entire industry, and people are just happy to mention them, to give them credit, even though they're selling products as well. So it's about being creative and think outside of the box as usual.
Yeah.
All right, great. So another question, do you have any predictions regarding voice search and how it could affect SEO, I guess, in the near and more distant future? Because it's becoming a thing which more and more people are performing. It's really easy for you to do it from everywhere. There are some houses who are equipped with, equipment that allows you to give voice comments, open the door, turn on the shower, that type of stuff. But how does it affect the SEO industry?
When Google announced Hummingbird, one of the examples that they gave was they asked a two-part query. When was Barack Obama born, and who is he married to? And they didn't say who is Barack Obama married to. They said who is he married to. So they use a pronoun he to refer to the person they mentioned in the first query. So that's a conversational search. That's a aspect of conversation that you use pronouns. That's called a co-reference in natural language processing, and they're going to be using more of this natural language processing. So there are a bunch of natural language processing videos on YouTube that are worth watching to understand better. So Google did come out with a patent a couple of years ago where they said if they recognize that a person asking questions has an accent, they might personalize the search results based upon the accent they recognize.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, to go that far, to understand even accents and different speech from the usual one.
Right.
So basically it's going into the direction of, as you say, conversation, and probably following people's train of thoughts. Like, for example, if I ask you who is Barack Obama, you answer me, and then if I ask you as my second question, who is his wife, you know that I'm still referring to Barack Obama, but previously it was impossible for Google before those enhancements, in the search algorithms. Yeah. All right, so we are almost 1 hour since we started. So one final question before I ask you for your contacts, where people can find you. So one very broad question, which I can't neglect. So what is the future of SEO? People are constantly asking, especially I think this year. Yeah, it's one of the hottest trends because of so many new changes. Not that before they weren't interesting things that were happening, but I think that, for example, after RankBrain, then the HTTPS migration to make the World Wide Web a more secure place, speed, which is one of the things that everybody is frowning. Very slow websites. So basically, Google is more or less trying to educate us to perform better for the greater good, for the the better future for all of us regarding the search and the overall experience on the internet. So, but what is the future according to you of the SEO?
The 2-minute answer. Last blog post I wrote on SEO by the Sea, I mentioned involved artificial intelligence and lots of links to articles about artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, used to say that mobile first was the future of Google, but then he changed it last year to artificial intelligence is first is now the future of Google. So, I think he's right, and Google came up with they turned one of their chief engineers, Jeffrey Dean, into the head of the Google Brain team, which focuses upon machine learning and artificial intelligence. They developed a chip called the TensorFlow chip, which they let people using Google Cloud use for free. So they're training people on how to use machine learning in the cloud. They started a program where they're teaching new employees at Google how to use machine learning and how to use programming involving machine learning.
Yeah.
So SEO is going to become a lot more machine learning and deep learning friendly. We know that the Panda update supposedly involved Google learning lots of features about websites and then using machine learning to understand which pages use those features they learned about websites as training data to help them learn better which were good websites, which were bad websites, which were high quality websites and which weren't. You don't need to know machine learning to build a high quality website.
No, you don't really. Yeah.
And so you don't necessarily need to learn machine learning or artificial intelligence to keep on doing SEO.
Yeah. Luckily for us. Yeah.
Sure. So we don't all need PhDs, but we can still build websites that people want to use.
Yeah, by using our human common sense, for example, what we would like to come across, to land on, and that's probably valid for all the other people out there. Yeah. All right. So thanks. Great insight so far. I'm very excited. So to wrap it up, where can people find you, Bill? What are the places online where you are most active?
Okay, I work for Go Fish Digital, and they're at gofishdigital.com. They're just outside Virginia. I blog at SEO by the Sea. I do a weekly hangout on air called Bill and Eamon's Bogus Hangout.
Yeah.
On Google Plus with my friend Eamon Johns, and we have a few other people who join us. Terry Van Horn, Doc Sheldon.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to write a couple articles for Search News Central, which is a new site from Doc Sheldon. It used to be run by David Harry and at SEO Dojo, and Doc took it over. It's starting up again. I'd look for it. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, whatever you're into, I mean, obviously it's going to be something exquisite. So, okay, guys, I hope you loved this video and this very first session with our honorable guest, Bill Slawski here. Bill, I want to personally thank you one more time for your appearance here in front of our audience. I really think that that's the right path for all of us, for the whole community to educate themselves, you know, which is great that we have the chance to do it for free because of people like you. That's why I started this community in the first place, just to give free knowledge, because people really need it. And it's not all about the commercial, intent at the end. There are more important things than that. And I think with your first appearance here and all the other people who luckily will stand in front of us in the next AMA sessions, and you included, I will be more than happy if you can find time in your overcrowded schedule for some other show. Is going to be great for us all. So thanks. Any final words from you?
Just wanted to say thank you, and I enjoyed this talk. Enjoyed the questions. Happy to see some really good ones.
Thank you, much appreciated. Okay, guys, have yourself a nice rest of the day, and me and Bill are saying goodbye to you, and see you soon.
Bye now.
Bye.